On today's podcast, you are going to learn how focusing on your personal health impacts your company's health. And then it's going to impact your employees' health. And we have to be intentional about that. You're going to learn all of that today on the next Unity Talks podcast.
Welcome to Unity Talks, where the hiring experts of Dallas-based recruiting firm Unity Search engage in lively discussion with successful business leaders to dissect their careers and how they got to where they are today, the obstacles overcome to reach their success, and steps they've taken to stay at the top of their respective fields. So listen in as we provide you with the thought-provoking conversation and ideas that keep industries moving forward.
And welcome back to another edition of the Unity Talks podcast. And I am thrilled today because I have someone with us. Our guest is, I would say he's more of a friend, but he's also a CFO. He's been a client, he's been a candidate, but more importantly to me, he's a friend. And Ignacio Jaimes, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're going to hear me call him Nacho this whole time, and when you are from Mexico, Nacho is the given nickname. That's just what you do with people whose first name is Ignacio.
Absolutely nothing to do with the food. So
All right.
it's okay.
All right. I'm glad we established that. No, I'm super happy to have you here. So before we jump in too much, I want you to introduce, you're the CFO of TrackStreet. You've been there since January. So why don't you give us a quick little commercial and tell our audience what TrackStreet is and does?
So TrackStreet, we are a frictionless commerce platform that empowers companies to remove the obstacles that prevent the end customer to find the right product from the right channel at the right price, online or off.
Who is your typical customer? Would I be a customer? Would it be a business?
Now are like big companies, the
Okay.
big logos companies that really, care about their brand reputation.
Okay.
We provide information that allows them to regain control of the brands.
Okay. So headquarter location?
It's in Vegas,
It's in Vegas. Very nice.
but we are all over the place. We have colleagues from, I think, 22 countries.
Very nice. Very
So
nice.
it's an interesting place.
Yeah. Now, do y'all have, is it an online platform through a website? Do y'all have an interface through a mobile device?
Okay, yeah, you log into a computer,
Okay.
when we sell the platform and you start, seeing the magic that our, product provides.
Yeah. Awesome. Love it. All right. So here's what we're going to jump into now, because this is my favorite part. Yesterday, you and I were having a conversation and you were like, yeah, I don't know why anybody would ever want to come listen to me or hear me on the podcast, because it's not like I have a remarkable background. It's relatively boring. And I'm going to give you my response to that comment. And after I give you my response, I'm going to pause on boring for a second. So here's my response. You do have a remarkable background. So you're from Mexicali. You speak Spanish primarily. Now you speak English as a second language. You started your career, and it was 16 years in manufacturing, 13 years at one company, and you held just about every single position at PACCAR, Peterbilt Motors Company. And so you came to the U.S., and then somehow you went from manufacturing to software as a service industry, which, if manufacturing is on the far right end of the spectrum, in my eyes, in very novice eyes, software as a service is the far left end of the spectrum. And somehow someone gave you a shot and you made that leap. And here you are, fast forward 5-6 years of being in the industry, and you're the CFO of TrackStreet. So I would argue that is not boring. I would argue that is remarkable. Which opposes what you mentioned to me yesterday. And on the boring comment, I say this all the time to our team. Success is not sexy. Success takes someone who is a grinder, someone who is willing to put in hours to achieve what they want to achieve. And Nacho, you, my friend, you are a grinder. You've been that for your whole career. You are constantly learning. When we talked yesterday, you said, I am learning more now than I have in a long time. And so I would ask you, where did the grinder come from? Is that innate? Is that from parents? Like, where does that come from in you?
It is as a result of trying to find success through work. coming from a humble family, and I want to get out of the hole. I wanted a better lifestyle for me, for my family, and I didn't do anything of the things that you do in Mexico to get away. And for me, it was being good at school and trying to prove that I can be as good as anybody else.
How did that translate to the day-to-day activity when you were just starting your career? I mean, were you doing more than what other people were doing? Were you just kind of coming in at 8, leaving at 5? Like, how did that manifest itself?
Now it's just basically working crazy hours. I think I'm smart, but I don't think I'm smarter than anybody else. It's just a matter of, hey, if I'm not the smartest guy in the room, I can certainly try to find to outwork somebody else. And when you work a lot of hours, you learn a lot. You expose yourself to really great situations. With that said, I mean, it's not really good for your mental health. And something that now that I'm older, I've realized that, and trying to make some intentional changes in my life that could benefit myself and my family and the people that work for me. But I didn't realize that when I was starting. I just wanted to be the fastest, the best, and move as fast as I could.
Yeah.
The company I was working for.
We're going to come back and touch on that mental health here towards the end, because I think that's really important. So you talked a little bit about wanting to be the best. Now, were you asked to work the hours, or is it something that it was who you were because you wanted to get ahead and you wanted to prove yourself? It almost sounds like you have kind of like a chip on your shoulder, which can be a good thing when utilized correctly.
Yeah, so like I went to my undergraduate for a really good school in Mexico, and I ended up getting a job that I didn't want to get. I was, my mom was sick, and I was not forced, but I decided to go back to my hometown, and I started as an accounts payable clerk. When I've been, the Monterrey Tech is kind of like the MIT for Latin America, and when you start as an AP clerk, I felt that I could do something better, and I just wanted to prove that I was worth the opportunity.
Yeah. You got an opportunity to come to the U.S. through Peterbilt. Tell us a little bit about that transition, because that's the other thing, right? I mean, you're coming into a new country for you and with an organization. So how did that transition work for you?
So, I always wanted to conquer the world. And for me, conquering the world, it was not, owning. It's more about working in international arena, different countries. I'm passionate about cultures and countries. So it was like crazy because, our culture is different. When I say our culture, is the Mexican culture from the U.S., not having a really good command of the language. I spoke English, but it was not great. I even think that I have a lot of opportunity to improve it, but I'm not worried about that anymore. And it was just something super new that got me super excited. I was privileged to have a lot of great mentors that allow me to understand the culture of the company, the culture of the city, the culture of the United States, and here we are.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I do think it is remarkable. So let's fast forward a little bit in your career. So you have moved into so many different roles at Peterbilt Motors. And then you had an opportunity to interview for a SaaS software company. How did you get that opportunity? Who gave you that shot? Because that's what we asked for. Like, just give me a shot. Like, put me in the game, coach. Give me one shot, and you got a shot. So tell us a little bit about that transition.
So it required a little bit of a stubbornness because I was labeled as a manufacturing guy. And, I have the solid belief that if you have a solid foundation, if you understand numbers, finance and accounting, I mean, we're not rocket scientists. A lot of the knowledge from one industry, I think, translates to the other because it's just dealing with data. And if you're a little bit inquisitive and you're willing to fail, trying to learn new things, hey, the world is your oyster. Mm-hmm. So it was me trying to get out of manufacturing. And, when I got to Solera, there was some guy, Oscar Castro, Renato Giger, and Tony that gave me an opportunity to to move to SaaS. And fast forward it, SaaS is a lot easier than manufacturing. In manufacturing, in the company I used to work, you can deal with a bill of materials with 20,000 or 30,000 parts. And software is easy. There are nuances about how you measure the business, how you get models for productivity, but again, it's not rocket science, and it's beautiful.
What do you think that they saw in you during that interview process that said, this is our guy, we're moving forward with him?
I think my desire to avoid failure, and that I was willing to do whatever it takes to get it done. Mm-hmm. That's been my motto. I mean, might not be the greatest, but I just don't like to fail.
Yeah.
And I'll do whatever it takes. Now that I'm older, hopefully wiser, I understand that there's some times where I need to give up. Mm-hmm. Because at some of the times or experience in my career when I didn't give up, I was affecting my family for being that stubborn guy that wanted to get it done.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's a good lesson. I think we've all learned that as we've matured in our career where, I don't know, there are some areas where you give up on areas because it's just not moving you forward. You're not advancing your company and you're not advancing your team down the field. But there's also areas where it's good to fail and putting yourself into that situation because you can, if you learn to use those experiences to fail forward, as they say. And so I love the fact that they gave you that shot to get into this industry. When you got into SaaS, did you feel like, okay, now this is my shot? So I still got that chip on my shoulder. Like I'm going to prove myself now that this was a good move on their end.
Absolutely. And, I wanted to prove it like first and foremost to myself. I wanted to prove myself that I can do it because I would keep hearing from a lot of people, companies, recruiters, like, now you're a manufacturing guy. I was initially trying to get to healthcare or SaaS. Mm-hmm. That was what I'm trying to do, and I just keep getting rejected, and, I kept trying, and it happened.
Yeah.
And there was just a small window. They gave me the chance, and here we are.
Well, I hope I'm not one of those recruiters that told you that you're a manufacturing guy. I may have been.
You
overlooked that.
No. But it was good. It was good feedback because I just wanted to prove people wrong.
Yeah.
It's another opportunity to have a chip on my shoulder and say, "I told you so. I could do it." And here we are.
I love it how you've taken that and turned that into something that motivates you. That's a tool, that's a skill that all of us should have, that we can take something and turn that into motivation for us. So very commendable by you. Okay, so we're going to move into kind of, mindset because you've touched on that a couple of times here. I'm going to lead into it by, you have a noble goal.
Yeah.
Tell us what your noble goal is.
So my noble goal is to make a difference in someone else's life. I am here because there's a lot of great people along the way that helped me get here. And now, not only now, my motto has been trying to give back as much as I can. How can I multiply it?
Yeah.
And, at work, again, the culture in the United States is different than the culture in my country, in companies that you work for. But I've tried to use my work as an opportunity to add value to the company, but at the same time, trying to change lives or impact lives in a positive way.
All right, so let's pull on that a little bit here, okay? So hearing you say, I worked a lot of hours early in your career, and then you said you advanced to, I've learned a lot from that, and I've learned to modify that a little bit, okay? And so you've obviously gone through this evolution in your life, and you've led teams for a long time. Do you feel like early on you were leading teams and really like, hey guys, we got to be hard charging, we got to go, and do you feel like, man, I could have maybe burned people out? And now I'm at this point where I'm trying to find that balance of pushing my team, but not pushing them too far away.
I mean, absolutely. And also it doesn't help when you work in cultures that, hustlers. You have hustlers, you have people that have chips on their shoulders, that just want to outwork everybody, And I mean, you can make a lot of progress for the company, but at the same time, you end up burning out people. And now I know that at times I should have gone slower so I could have gone faster. But I think that at least I acknowledge that. So today my approach is different. I'm still a hustler, but mental health, it's centered on what I do because I deal with people and I understand that people have lives. Whatever is happening in their personal life has a direct impact on their productivity at work. And sometimes you can avoid saying things in a certain way. You can promote, I don't know, health. Like in the finance team, we have little challenges to improve our health. Working out, meditating, taking breaks. That's something that earlier in my career, I didn't do it. And I was in places where the cultures were different and not conducive to a good mental health.
So something interesting, when I was leading a team, I walk into the bullpen or the organization and you just look at everybody's faces and you can kind of tell, like, take a quick assessment, like who looks like they're good, who looks like they're not good, make sure to go over and touch each person on a daily basis in terms of making sure that they feel good about themselves. And so you take a quick assessment. But a lot of us have gone online, or we are a hybrid model where you just don't see every single person every day, or you're seeing them through a screen, or it's just a phone call. And sometimes there's a day that goes by that you don't talk to them. How have you assessed your team without maybe their knowledge that you're assessing them to check on that mental health? What are some of the things that you've done practically?
I'm pretty direct. I'm a strong believer in one-on-ones. So my one-on-ones usually start with a check-in process. It's not about work. It's about who we are, where we are as humans. And, the 20, 30, sometimes most of the one-on-one can be spent on checking in, allows me to understand where people's minds are and where people's lives are. And, I mean, I don't try to hide it. I tell my people I love them, I care about them, and I ask certain questions because I have an interest in their well-being. And I think I can be a catalyst for their mental health at work if I really know where they stand.
Yeah, and that mental health at work bleeds over to home, just like home bleeds over to work.
Because for me, I'm loyal to people. I care about people first because, jobs come and go. And, I love to create connections, and I think I'm pretty proud of staying in contact with a lot of people that have worked for me in the past. We go out, we have dinner and some drinks. Obviously, light drinks. We keep in touch. Because I care about who they are, and we follow, and when they have kids, when their lives evolve, and, that's work for me at the workplace.
So let's get super practical for people listening to us, those future leaders and leaders who are currently doing one. So let's break down. Are you doing one-on-ones weekly, every other? So weekly one-on-ones?
I do weekly.
Okay.
Weekly, and again, my process is checking in ahead of the schedule or the meeting. We put out the points that we want to discuss from both ends, but I always start with checking in.
Okay.
And at the end of the meeting is just the tactical and high-level strategy, and sometimes we need to revisit during the week because an hour might not be enough. But to me, the most important thing for my one-on-ones is checking in with my team and see what their mental health is.
Love that. So is it 30 minutes? Is it an hour?
It's usually an hour.
It's an hour. Okay, so 10 to 15 minutes personal, the rest business.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes, like yesterday, I had a one-on-one that is just an hour just talking about personal issues from my employee.
Yeah, I'm being super intentional about breaking it down to the smallest level because what we're learning here is it's just doing it first, and then based on how that conversation goes, you can evaluate whether or not do we extend it further, do we not. It's not like you have to have that. You just keep going. It's like, what, right now work isn't that important. We need to focus on you. Or if everything's fine and dandy, it's like, all right, let's get to business, and you read it in the moment.
And something that I try, not I try, I do is ask for feedback. I mean, does this work? Does this doesn't work? I mean, I'm willing to adjust based on feedback. But if people telling me that they're liking how I do it, I would like to believe that I'm doing it in a way that is impacting other people in a good way.
So let's talk about how it's impacted you, because you've gone on this little bit of transformation. You're still a hustler. You're still a grinder. That's just who you are. That's never going to be taken away. But you've found a little bit more balance, is what you spoke of yesterday. And you even talked about how your wife and kids have noticed and given you feedback. So tell us about how this has just manifested itself in your life recently.
Like, for me, it's been really great. I love my CEO. I mean, I really love him. We were friends. We see the world sometimes in a different way. We're different in how we operate, but because we're so different, I think we're good working together. So I'm not afraid of, telling about my shortcomings. There's sometimes days when I'm down. And, in the past, I would try to hide it, like, oh, I don't want people to know that I'm not having a good day. I just pretty transparent, because I feel that if I provided the additional color, he might, or other people will ask for things in a different way that if they wouldn't have the information. Also, I'm older, wiser, hopefully, and I used to care a lot what people thought about me in my early years. Right now, I'm not even close to perfect, but I love who I am. Yeah. And I just love who I am. And there's a lot of things my wife will say that I need to improve, but I just love, I like the version of myself that I'm seeing today. I feel stronger, I feel wiser, I feel great because I also have a family that, I love and supports me and has supported me on the bad days. Mm-hmm. And right now they're seeing the benefits of me being in a place where I'm just loving it.
You are the yin to your CEO's yang. It sounds like it's a really good combination. And that bleeds over into home. And, the word I would say, as I listen to you talk, the word I would say is, it seems like you feel empowered to be more you than maybe you've ever been in your life.
Absolutely. And one big difference for me, this is the first time in my career where I had a hypothesis where I strongly believe that happy cows can make really great cheese. I've been in situations where, the culture is divorced from results. Mm. And right now I'm having the opportunity to combine both and proving the theory that if we care about our employees, our culture, about their well-being, you see the results in the business. And again, I've only been there for eight months, and I'm not saying that I'm the only person that's making changes, but at least I have a forum where my boss is allowing me to make those changes, and hearing the impact that we're making on people is great.
Yeah, it's personal health helps with company health. And then if you can kind of spread that, and you have to be very intentional nowadays in order to do that, because we are in, you have to be intentional even if you're 100% in the office. Your intentionality and the effort you put into it just increases when you do have people who are remote or in a hybrid type situation, just because you don't have that. It's like a proximity thing, the closer I am to you, the more I can feel your energy. The distance between us causes that energy to dissipate a little bit. And in order to increase that energy, I have to be even more intentional about, and I can feel that from the health of the company and what you guys are trying to build there.
It's just like crazy. For example, it was last week, from the employees, we have something that we call culture committee, where the employees propose a mental health day off because, we're grinding, we're doing a lot of things, and we felt a little bit down. So it came from the employees. We talked to the CEO, and the CEO says, let's do it. And in my life, in other places that I work, I would have never thought about that. I would have even be embarrassed to bring that idea, not because I don't believe it. I just felt that I knew what the response was going to be.
Yeah. Yeah. We need to work, people. We need to work.
And it's just, I always wanted to find like the work-life balance, and I failed miserably. So it took me, I don't know, I'm going to be 48, almost 48 years to realize now that I don't want to find a work-life balance. I'm trying to incorporate my work with my life, because in the past, it was more about work. I had work on one side and, my personal life. To my family, I told them that I care, I love you guys, but I was spending most of my time at work. Mm-hmm. And right now, I'm being able to combine both. Getting some good feedback from my family is great. I'm the happiest I've been in a job. It doesn't feel like a job. I wake up every day like super pumped about working there. There are days where, like any other place, there are days that are tough or weeks that are tough. But it never lessens my desire to make a change or make a positive impact in the company.
Man, you said work-life balance, and what you're saying, it's still a B, it's work-life blend.
Yes.
And that's what you're trying to do, is just to blend the two. So last time right here, you've got to tell me, what's that noble goal again?
To make a difference in someone else's life.
Well, here's the thing, like in order to make the difference in someone else's life, you have to get your life on track, right? And go in full steam ahead. And it sounds to me that's what you found. And I think every leader out there, if we can be so intentional about making that difference in someone else's life, whether it's having those one-on-ones, those check-ins, and sometimes just scrapping the plan and just focusing on them because of what's happening outside of work for them, I think those are the things that we have to be very intentional about moving forward, especially in the environment that we're in. We're coming out of a pandemic, and then we talk about the labor market being short, and then we talk about a potential recession, and all these little things stress people out. Even though they may try to hide it from you, you can see through those things, and it's investing in their lives because they're investing in your company. So, Nacho, man, thank you so much for the time today. Yeah, I hope you had fun, and I hope our listeners learned a lot from him. He is fantastic, and we wish him the best. And until next time, we'll see you down the road.
If you're looking for the next step in your career or the missing piece for your team, Unity Search has you covered. Whether it's finance and accounting, tax services, information technology, or human resources, Unity Search is here for you with experienced and dedicated hiring professionals. Reach out today and take the next step. Unity Search, placing you first.